Once a strategy is developed, putting it into action is where the real challenge begins. Implementing strategy means translating big picture plans into day-to-day behaviors, processes, and results across an organization. In this lesson, we focus on how effective change management and clear communication play essential roles in making strategy real. You'll learn practical ways to align people, processes, and culture with your organization's vision, so execution doesn't stall at the planning phase. Implementing strategy usually requires change, sometimes small shifts, but often large ones. Think of it like rerouting an established train to a new track. The strategy is the destination, but many adjustments are needed to get the train moving smoothly in a new direction. These adjustments include systems, structures, roles, and even mindsets. Change management is the structured approach we use to guide individuals, teams, and organizations from a current state to a desired future state. It helps reduce resistance and increases engagement. Without thoughtful change management, even the most brilliant strategy can fail due to confusion or pushback from within your own ranks. To manage change effectively, leaders need to understand what people fear during transitions. Employees often worry about losing status, competence, or job security. For instance, shifting to a digital-first model may excite leadership but worry frontline staff. A good strategy implementation plan identifies these emotional risks and addresses them early. One commonly used model for managing change is Kotter's 8-step process. It begins with creating a sense of urgency and ends with anchoring new approaches in the organization's culture. While you don't need to follow every step rigidly, using a framework like this can offer a valuable roadmap during uncertain times. Clear, continuous communication is the backbone of strategy implementation. It's not enough to announce the new direction once and expect people to follow. Communication needs to be ongoing, transparent, and two-way. Leaders must explain the why behind the strategy, as well as what's expected of each team. One helpful communication practice is cascading messages. This means tailoring strategic messages by level or team within the organization, so each group hears how the change affects them in a relevant way. For example, the finance team might need different details than the customer service department, even if they're working toward the same goal. Leaders should also create safe spaces for questions and feedback. When employees feel heard, they're more likely to commit to change. Listening sessions, town halls, and manager one-on-ones are all useful tools. Sometimes, employees will surface potential barriers to implementation that leadership hadn't considered. Another key to success is aligning strategy with operational plans. In practice, this means revising KPIs, key performance indicators, reallocating resources, and potentially updating job descriptions. Everyone should understand how their role connects to the larger mission. When people know their efforts contribute directly to the bigger picture, their engagement grows. It's also important to look at structures. Do the current reporting lines, decision-making rules, and incentives support the new strategy? For example, if your organization is shifting from product-based to customer-centric strategies, you might need to realign teams around customer segments rather than departments. Culture often becomes either an enabler or a barrier to strategy execution. Culture reflects the underlying values, behaviors, and norms of an organization. If your strategy calls for innovation, but your culture punishes failure, you'll face resistance. Leaders need to model and reward the behaviors that match their new strategic direction. A helpful way to reinforce new behaviors is through recognition and storytelling. Highlight early wins and publicly celebrate individuals or teams who embrace the change. This not only boosts morale, but also signals that the strategy is real and evolving. Stories stick. It's how humans remember and relate to complex ideas. Technology can also support implementation, especially for communication and tracking progress. Project management systems, performance dashboards, and internal communication tools all play a role. However, tech shouldn't substitute for leadership. It's a support, not a replacement for active guidance and feedback. Timing matters too. Some organizations rush implementation and lose people along the way. Others wait too long and miss market opportunities. Strategic leaders balance urgency with readiness. They stage milestones and allow for feedback loops rather than forcing blind compliance. As strategy rolls out, regularly assess what's working and what's not. Implementation should include checkpoints, not just at the end, but along the way. These might involve team check-ins, pulse surveys, or mid-course corrections. Looping feedback into the process keeps strategy flexible and alive. In summary, successfully implementing strategy is about more than following a plan. It's about leading people through change, communicating clearly and consistently, and making sure every process and structure supports the new direction. When done well, strategy execution becomes a shared journey, not just a top-down agenda. In our next lesson, we'll move from planning to practice as we walk through drafting your own strategy brief.